Yeah, going back to what we're talking about with the whole what about me mentality. It's when the Black Lives Matters thing exploded in America during the George Floyd incident. Is that trial? Is it over?
No, it's still
still going.
Yeah. So when that happened, like obviously a lot of Asian Americans have the mentality, "What about me?" And it stems from like, why are you guys celebrating this group of people who have committed all these crimes on me and my brothers and sisters? And notably, there's just they feel as if they've been pushed to the side, like their cause doesn't matter, or their strife or their pain doesn't matter, because now we're trying to give these people who wronged them an avenue to become a better person due to their color.
I mean, it's hard for me to talk about the George Floyd stuff just in general, because I mean, I still, even a year later, am still processing all of that, because that was the first time I think I actually watched a man sort of like I've seen videos of Black dudes getting shot by the cops, like it's, a fucking Coke commercial, because they have been happening so frequently.
They happen so often, yeah.
But seeing a man sort of literally over the course of 9.5 minutes, slowly die. That was, I think it's something that I kind of try to block out of my brain. It's
horrifying. Yeah.
But like, I mean, and it's actually, I don't know if it's ironic or if it's fitting that like this trial is going on as the, Asian community attacks have escalated in the way that they have. It's almost this weird, crazy synergy, because you would think that would also be an opportunity for people to realize like, yo, the same shit is happening to both of these groups in different ways. Like one, like, yes, is systemic sort of racism by an authority group on to, a group of people that has been happening for, over 100 years, whereas what's been happening to the Asian community is like, again, like a slower burn. Slower burn that, but it's still, it's the same result, right? Like in the end is that people are dying, and, for no other reason right now than the color of their skin or the makeup of their ethnicity. It's just,
but I also think like with the Asian side, how there are people saying fuck the blacks. There's also Black people saying fuck the Asians. Like
yes, definitely both sides.
Yeah, both sides. In one of the interviews, with the LA riots, one of the Black community members basically saying, we don't care about the Koreans. They come into our community, they open up stores, raise prices, and a couple of other like businesses, Korean businesses too, have been attacked because we're Asians. So I think both sides have those small percentage of people saying fuck them because they've wronged me. I don't care about it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That definitely exists. I mean,
it definitely exists. I think it's tough because I think it comes with a lot of distress within the communities. And with marginalized communities, right, their focus is on themselves for so long that, like, especially for the Asian community, that since they have not been full or about things that they thought the only people that can help them is themselves, right? So there's definitely some people I know that are in my life that have the mentality that there's no one to help you but yourself, and so that in itself, I feel like, is an attack on other communities. That you feel like you kind of have to make yourself better than, right? So it's tough because I think by doing that, you forget that all this stems from one thing, right? Kind of white supremacy, and if you don't see that bigger picture, they're going to keep always saying this "what about me" type of thing, or like, what about the, like, especially when they try to generalize the whole community based off one experience, right, or a couple, or whoever it may be, and I don't know, I feel it's a lot of we have to break down within our communities and really try to address that there is racism within people of color.
Yeah. It's like we have to have these conversations. Like
we have to. I think so. Like, and say what are the reasons why, what are our struggles that unite us. I think that's what we have to start talking about, like what we can do, that we have to realize that when people of color, when marginalized community is struggling, I think we have to I guess kind of rally together and realize that their struggles are ours too. That we gotta, they are, if they're paving a way for all of us to feel there's a sense of quality, and there's a movement that's gonna make us feel like that we're all on the table.
Like this, I think this also ties into the whole model minority thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Where it's being, where like our race or color is being weaponized by whoever wants to use it. Is it used? Is it could be weaponized by a certain community? It could be weaponized by powers that be, whoever chose it. Like in the notes I had, a woman wrote her discourse on the affirmative action and how, and she grouped Chinese people in the same leagues as white people, and how Chinese people would use affirmative action as a means to not subjugate, but as a means to belittle the African American community. She basically says that it makes them feel like they are a class above due to their color and position in colleges, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, there was. I mean, I don't know if you saw this in any of your research, but there was an Asian American, I think it was a woman, who sued Harvard over affirmative action because she believed that that because they were, choosing to sort of include more African American and Latino groups, and she, as an Asian person, was being discriminated against because they already had such a large population of Asian people already attending Harvard. And she thought she was getting discriminated against because her qualifications were supposedly higher than these other minority groups that were being added. I mean, but that exact argument is one that white people use, right?
Yes.
Of why affirmative action shouldn't, be enacted across these schools.
What about me, right? That same mentality again.
I mean, and for the record, she lost. Like, she actually lost the lawsuit because it was basically like Harvard was able to sort of like show their receipts. Right? They're private, but they were also able to sort of show the receipts that it wasn't that, they weren't accepting people who were qualified. Like, they weren't accepting other races that weren't qualified, right? Like, because they are, they were able to sort of, back up their shit and say like, no. Like, all of these people were qualified. They just happen to also be people of color,
Yeah, and these barriers is what fosters these kind of thought, these kind of arguments. Because of these kind of walls that are going to put up, you have to come up with a reason why, and I guess for her actually that's it.
Yeah. Well, and I have to let me also amend my statement. They were people of color, but like underrepresented groups, like of people of color, because yes, while there was already like, a pretty deep rooted Asian community already there were like Black community, Latino communities were not represented in this. And that's why they made a point of trying to include more of them, accept more of them. Mm. But it's a white power structure that was able to sort of like give that argument in the first place.
And I think it's all rooted to why, for equality, do I have to sacrifice my own spot for someone else?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
What about me?
Yeah, what about me?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, unless fucking Aunt Becky wants to take me on, dude.